So as we proceed forward, then some of the most important material would ask about all arthropods. So when we talk about their success, this is where, if you were just even, I don't want to say slightly paying attention, or just even listening just a little bit. How do my markers get mixed up now too? Well, maybe that's silly, but I just like having them in a specific order. Because I think I can put them two in the wrong spot. Okay, so regardless, if we were to ask this question, this is probably one of the big ones, okay? Oops. Describe what was discussed that makes the arthropods so successful. Something along those lines. Okay. Guess I probably could capitalize this, make it grammatically correct. Okay. So, this is where, probably for the better part, let's say there was 20 lecture days, I would venture to think that between 12 and 13 of those days, we would say, give me a characteristic, and we would go around the room. So now is your opportunity to, let's say, give me one of those examples, and if you can do it without looking, that would probably help you out even more. Okay, so, okay. So when we're talking about tracheal tubes, we're referring to respiration, correct? Now, not all arthropods have tracheal tubes, because that would not be very conducive for the crustaceans, because they are what type of arthropods? Yeah, they're aquatic. So having those, they would not be very conducive for them. So for respiration, now you might be thinking, well, why are we talking about majorities here? Well, sometimes we refer to that, there's exceptions to the rule. Has anyone ever heard of that before? Okay. We use that in organic chemistry a few times. There's exceptions to the rule. So when we talk about insects, we say the majority of them fly, but there's an exception to that rule. And we discussed who are insects that don't fly. Ants. So when we're talking about this is an exception to the rule, this would be one of them. So for respiration, the majority of, we'll just say arthropods, have tracheal tubes. Now, why is that significant? Because what do those tracheal tubes do? As for breathing, yeah, we've established that. But what's the importance of those tracheal tubes? What's it doing with the oxygen? It delivers it right to the cell. Delivers, you can say oxygen or O2 directly to the cells. Okay? It's a very broad definition, but it's one that works. Okay. Another key to their success. Okay? Okay, now having that's going to be an advantage for, there's going to be one primary reason, but also two secondary ones. Okay, so the primary one is going to be the most obvious. That exoskeleton does what? Provides protection. That's right. Arthropods have an exoskeleton which provides protection. Along with, okay, in chordate or vertebrate terms, okay, what type of what type of skeleton do vertebrates have? We're talking about amphibians, fish, reptiles, birds, mammals, humans. They have an endoskeleton. So that's also going to have a function of protection, but what does that skeleton do for us? Yeah, it gives them structure. More importantly, what are we doing here? Yeah, right. So muscle attachments along with provides for protection along with muscle attachments. And then probably for any living creature, keeping this inside their body, not blood. True. Has something to do with some specific tubules as well. And those conserve what? Conserving water. Okay? This exoskeleton provides protection along with muscle attachments and conserves water. Okay? Now, this is probably going to seem like it's quite long, but we've said all 6 of these multiple times. So I would like to think when you, for respiration, yeah, we know it delivers oxygen to their cells. An exoskeleton, obviously it's going to provide protection and places for muscle attachments and water loss. Okay, a third one we could say is they have complex sensory organs. Now, one of those you could say is in that of not necessarily all insects, but as far as antennae you could use, but especially with flies and spiders. Okay, it's just usually not possible for you to, there's a fly on a desk or a table or on the wall, it's usually just not possible for you to take your hand and swat them. You're just not quick enough. Because how do they know that, geez, I got to get out of the way? When you're doing this, what are they sensing? Yeah, they're sensing air currents or air movements, and then they get out of the way. Okay, but if you have a fly swatter, well, then you can obviously move that much quicker. Complex sensory organs, okay, to, we'll just say, detect air currents. Okay. Okay, we're halfway. Say that again. I'm hearing that outside and I can't hear you. Yes. Okay. Arthropods have jointed appendages. Okay, and why would that be significant? Well, you could say not just, of course, movement. Muscles do that, but we're going to say complex movement. Okay. complex movement. Okay. Behavior patterns. Okay. Okay. And you could think of bees for this with their, you could say their social structuring, or spiders do this, kind of like sacrificing yourself for the good of the offspring. Now that's not all spiders, okay? Some will sacrifice their body, others, they do cannibalism, okay? So even though that might not seem like a complex behavior pattern, but it's just one of the aspects that, let's say, contributes to their success, okay? Like cannibalism. Cannibalism, or yeah, we'll just keep it at that. Try to keep this simple. Yes, because some, like I said, some species of spiders, the mother will sacrifice herself for the passing on of, uh, as their first meal, if you want to call it that. Okay, so 2, 3, 4, 5. There is one left, and I got to think about it for just a moment too. That's right. Okay, so metamorphosis. Okay, we're going to say which leads to what. There's got to be an advantage for this metamorphosis. And what would that possibly be? I mean, why, when we're talking about metamorphosis, what does that actually mean? Say that a little louder. Well, they're growing, yes, that's true. But the example that we gave is if you had a younger niece or nephew or younger sibling that's still in the, let's say, infant stage. What's that? For, exactly, but for what? For food source, that's right. Leads to less competition. For a food source. Okay. And I think that's probably enough for that one. I think everyone would agree with that. So in essence, that would have been one of the first things that we talked about in class, and probably in the order that it was given was, or that we talked about, was this was the first one. Then I think the segmented appendages, or jointed, was number 2. Then I think it was the tracheal tubes was 3. Then I think this one was number 6. Complex sensory organs, I think, was number 4. And then here's number 5. Something along those lines. Okay? So yes, those are your 6 keys to the arthropod's success. Are we good? Okay. Alrighty. I guess I really don't have to ask if we can erase this because it's already on the science channel, or will be uploaded to the science channel. Otherwise, we can just leave parts of that up here. be at least this far. Okay. Okay. Describe the class Arachnida and their differences. Okay. So when we're saying that, we need to know who the arachnids actually are. Which there are 3. And then it would be, we're not going to require that you actually have the order name for them, because that's going to be on your final. But with that, what would be one of the first orders? Okay. Which are who? Okay. We'll just say the first order that we're talking about here, the first order is the spiders. Okay? So one of the things that we would want you to discuss when it comes to the spiders is appendages, food source, or their diet, okay, and body segments. Okay? So either food source, body segments, or appendages. So you go ahead and give me what you would like to say first. Okay? So when we say that now, we want to be just, it's not that that's wrong, okay? What we're getting at is this. Spiders have 8, we'll say walking appendages, because if we're really being specific, what does it mean to, what is an appendage really? We have 4, okay, because this is not, fingers are not appendages, okay, because appendages actually attach to the central frame, whether it's a thorax or an abdomen, okay. So when we're talking about these animals, okay, their appendages for movement is 8 walking legs, but they really do have 4 more appendages than that, because they've got 2 fangs, and also 2, starts with a P, pedipalps, okay? So really there's 12 appendages, but spiders have 8 walking appendages and 2 fangs. Oops. Now, the reason that's important, okay, is what type of diet are arachnaid spiders. They're carnivores, okay? Spiders are carnivores, okay? And now think about body segments, okay? So, are carnivores and have a what do you suppose that actually means? A cephalothorax. Repeat that. Yeah, they actually have two body segments. A head region here and a thorax, okay? And it's that pedicel that's in the middle. That's where the two come together, okay? So they have two body segments, cephalothorax. Okay, so now we've talked about, okay, our first order, the spiders. They have 8 walking appendages, 2 fangs, they're carnivores, and 2 body segments, cephalothorax. Okay, that does it for the order Arachne. What is the next one you'd like to? Scorpionidae, okay? The second order is the scorpions. And yes, it is Scorpionidae, okay? So what's true about the scorpions then? They've got 6 walking legs, okay? Scorpions have 6 walking legs, okay? Now that's not all of their appendages because they've got 2 more. Okay? Pinchers or chelopads. We'll just use pinchers. Okay? All right. 6 walking legs. And 2 pinchers. Not showing up much anymore. I'm going to chuck this. Okay. Try this one. Okay. Purple for Minnesota tonight. All right. Okay. Scorpions have 6 walking legs and 2 pinchers. Okay. So, what type of diet are scorpions? Carnivorous. Okay. Scorpions are carnivorous. Okay. So how's this different than the spiders? Because we're saying they've got what? They've got fangs. Scorpions do not have fangs. They've got a what? They've got a barb. Okay. And venom. Oh, that's right. Envenomating barb. Okay. Body segments now. 2. Yep. And a cephalothorax. And that means 2 body segments. Okay? So now, the third order of the class arachnids, which are who? The ticks and mites. And a quick review, what's the order? Acari. Okay, so the third order is the ticks and mites. Okay? So, movement, ticks and mites. How do they get around? 6 walking legs, that's right. We'll just say ticks, because that's perhaps more common. Ticks have 6 walking legs. Okay. Then diet. What are the ticks' diet. Parasitic feeders. Okay? Parasitic. Okay? Which means they've got a very special mouth part that's adapted for gathering the parasitic feeding or blood. And it's something that you put on your head, the capitulum, the cap you put on your head. Are parasitic, okay, have a capitulum for feeding. And then finally, body segments. What's that? One. Yep. And whether the number one or write it out, one body segment. Okay. That is it. And I think that's enough. That's a lot, but if it's one of those aspects, if you have been listening this entire chapter and paying attention, that's going to be, in my opinion, for those of you who are college bound, and same thing with tech school, if you are listening, that's going to be probably over half, about 60% of what you need to be doing in that classroom. Because if you're listening and paying attention, you're probably writing things down. But listening is probably the biggest attribute for success. Okay, so the rest of the time is yours, which there isn't much left, but tomorrow, the entire time is yours. Okay, so we'll stop there for today.